Hi folks, this is Kramer all from IT Visual Azure channel. They will continue our lab, the Red Alert lab. This is the video number 37. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. I've been continuing working on securing Windows Server 2019 based on the recommendation of the Department of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency of the United States. This is the video number 7. We have been working now for 6 videos. We have discussed a lot of issues, concerning how to secure your Windows Server 2019, some recommendations or some best practices that discuss how to secure your users on your Windows Server, to disable unneeded services and roles, or not unneeded but unsecure types of services on Windows Server 2019. So we have stopped the last time at this recommendation, which is Windows Server 2019 must be configured to audit login and log off special login successes. So what is special login? Special login, it is a kind of user that has administrative privileges on the machine. So this kind of privileges are only given to the local administrator of the machine, and this also can fit the profile of the domain admin. So here what does he says here? He says that he need to give special attention to the logins or the login of such users on a machine locally or through the domain. So we will audit, or we will activate the audit option to monitor and audit the logins, the special logins, for local administrators and the domain admins, or any user that has administrative privileges locally on the machine or through the domain. So we need to do this. So we will go to the audit option, login and log off section, and then tell him to audit successful special login. So we need to audit the success of the login of the special users. And this, of course, these users can elevate. So for example, if you need to give, or you need to give some user the privilege for installing a software, you can elevate him to do this. So we do success, and then we will, the next recommendation, we need to activate the audit option to record and monitor the changes in the task scheduler, jobs, and COM plus objects. We all know that the task scheduler, it's a kind of option in the Windows Server 2019 and Windows 10 operating systems. Through it you can do automated tasks or jobs to be done automatically in certain times. So for example, if you need to shut down the machine at a certain time, you can go to the task scheduler and create a job or a task that will shut down the machine at the time you need. So here we need to monitor the tasks done on the machine locally. So we need to do this. So we need to tell him to audit object access, other object access events, and we need to do the successful ones. We need to audit the successful change in the task scheduler, jobs, and COM plus objects. So let's go and activate this option. We have done this before, by the way, on Windows 10. So when we're securing Windows 10, we have discussed the same group policies before. So now we need to go and tell him object access, and then we need to tell him to audit other object access events and successful. So this is basically the other recommendation, and then we need the same, the Azure or the object access, or we need to have that success and failure. So we need to know the events where a user have successfully changed a task in the task scheduler, or a failure for a user to change a task in the task scheduler. So we have done this. Then we need to tell him to audit the removable storage success. Here is saying that we need to record access attempts on file system objects on a removable storage devices. So here is saying, I think he will audit the access of files on a removable storage. Here is saying file system objects, not any files. So here I think he will record any accessing of files, but he is saying here especially the file systems on a removable storage. So let's see, I think we can go to the website that we have been working before, the ultimate. This is a website that we can use to know what is the event logs, okay, or to know what are the kind of event logs and what does they mean. So let's tell him ultimate. This is the website ultimate Windows Security or ultimate windowssecurity.com, and then we need to tell him object access, and let's see here, and we need to tell him other object access. Okay, this is the one, and you need to see what is the description of this kind of events. So let's continue here, we can go further. Platforming, Azure object access. He is saying that the most valuable events in the category are the ones that you allow to monitor changes to tasks, to schedule task and file deletion. Okay, but I think this is not the one, there is another one. There is something for the removable storage. Let's see here where it is. It is object access removable storage. So object access, let's go there. Object access file systems. Here it is in the section of I think here it is in maybe removable storage. Let's see here, object access. So here it is, this is the object access auditing. So let's see here what he's talking about. No, we need to go further. Operation based file system. Okay, let's see, registry. No, kernel, SAM, and application, file share, platform, other object access. No, this is for the task scheduler. I think, let's see here, saying audit object access, removable storage. So let's see where this section resides. So he is saying we record any access of files on a removable storage, but I need to have more explanation about this group policy. But let's see here, object access audit removable, it is system object. Let's see here, it is in the object access, and let's see where it resides. Actually it is audit removable storage, so it is object access, and here we can go object access. Okay, and here is saying we can see here removable storage. All of them doesn't contain the removable storage, so I think here is not explaining this, but anyway it's crystal clear that he will audit the access of files on a removable storage. So we will tell him success, okay, access of files on removable storage, and failure. So you will audit the success of access of files on removable storage and the failure of access of files on removable storage. So now we can continue for the other recommendation. Here we will activate an audit to trace and record the changes in the audit policy. So for example, we all know that if we need to give a special attention to a certain event in the Windows, we need to activate the audit options. So here we will activate an option to monitor the changing in the audit options. So if someone played with the audit option and closed it, we need to know who. So here audit policy change records events related to changing in audit policy. So for example, if I open an audit to record access on files on the file server, this should be recorded. Or if someone has closed the audit options to monitor or record files accessed on the file share or the file server, this also should be recorded. So this is to audit the audit. Okay, so this is basically what does it mean. Okay, so we need to tell him success audit policy change. Okay, so this is if anyone changes one of these audit policies, by closing it or removing it or changing in it, this should be recorded. Will this success? Okay, of course. And then we will continue. And failure, if someone successfully changed an audit policy, or if someone failed to change an audit policy. Okay, so let's continue. And then we need to audit authentication policy change success. What we mean by authentication? Authentication, it is a process where the user provide his name and password, or provide his username and password to the Windows operating system or to the domain controller, and after that either the Windows or the domain controller verify that this user name and password are correct, he will be authenticated to access the system. Will be authenticated and authorized to access the system. So this is what we mean by authentication policy. We need to monitor the process of the authentication of the user. Okay, the authentication simply means to verify that the user is already in our domain, or this user have access to the system. Okay, so authentication change records event related to change in an authentication policy, including purpose policy and trust changes. So what we mean by authentication policy change means that he will monitor any change in the purpose policy and trust change. What we mean by trust change, for example, if you made a trust between a domain and another domain, for example, you have an external domain and you need to make a trust with it, with your internal domain. For example, coca-cola.com needs to make a trust with pepsi.com. So this trust changes, or this type of trust, external trust, will be recorded. So let's see also the description of this kind of changes, audit policy change. Let's see here what is the audit policy change. Let's go and see what does it say here. It says audit policy change. Here we can see that it is authentication and login. Okay, I think here it is saying audit policy change. Let's see here. What is this group policy saying? It audit policy change, authentication policy change, audit policy change, authentication policy change. So let's see what is the description. Let's go here and see policy change. Yes, here it is. And then audit policy change, policies that affect what gets reported and miscellaneous policies. Authentication policy changes, login rights assignments. So let's see here what you mean by login right assignments. Authentication policy, events track any configuration change that would affect how a user account are authenticated and when password and lockout policies are conceptually missing. So let's see what kind of events should be recorded. For example, a new trust was created to a domain, so you make trust between two domains, this will be recorded. A trust to a domain was removed. Okay, purpose policy was changed. This is the policy related to the authentication of the users. Trust domain information was modified. Okay, security access was granted to an account. What we mean system security access was granted to account? This means that a user was given access to a system. Let's see what he means by this. Let's see what we mean by this one. What he means system security was granted to an account. If you open like this and see the description of this event, he's saying that when a user is granted a permission, access this computer from network or login as service. So these kind of permissions, when given to a user, it is recorded. Okay, so for example, if I give a user, an Active Directory user or a local user, the permission to login as a service or to access this computer from network, it will be recorded. So a trust will be recorded, a permission given to a user such as login as service or access this computer from network will be recorded if it is granted or removed. A trust forest information was added, trust forest information was removed, trust forest information was modified. So it is basically concerning the trust relationships and the change in the purpose policy. The purpose policy, it is the policy responsible for authenticating and authorizing the user to access a system or domain. So all of these are the events that will be recorded. So basically, the authentication policy change, we will audit any change to a trust done by the system, any rights granted to users. So he's saying here, authentication policy event tracks any configuration change that would affect how user accounts are authenticated and when password and lockout policies are conceptually missing. So this is basically what we need to audit. So let's continue and see. So it's basically recording and monitoring the trust relationships, okay, between external domains or internal domains actually. So here we'll audit the success, and then we need to continue working. We have authorization. So authorization here is saying that records changes related in user rights as create a token object. So here he is saying that he will monitor the user rights. Okay, authentication means verifying the user has a correct username and password, okay, and he is in the domain or on the system. And then authorizing, here he will verify and see the user rights on the system. Okay, for example, if he have the right to shut down the system, or he have the right to access a certain file or folder. So let's see also what we mean by authorization policy change success. Let's go and see what we mean by authorization. So let's go and see authorization. So we can see authorization policy change. When user rights, that is privileges other than login rights, are assigned, an event is generated in the authorization policy change subcategory. So he's saying that when the user rights, that is privileges other than login rights, for example, if you give a user a right to have full control over a file, or to read a file, or to execute a file. Let's see, for example, this kind of event. We open it and see this is the event that will be recorded. Here saying that know that the user privileges are rights are most likely other security settings are defined in a group policy object and applied to the computer. Therefore, the event will normally show that the assigned by user as a system itself. To determine what actually made the right changes, you must search the domain control security logs. So saying that the event documents a change to user rights assignment on his computer, including the right and the user or group that received the new right. Okay, is basically recording the changes in the right of the user. Okay, not the login rights, but the permissions, I think. Anyway, so he's saying here that including the rights, the right and user or group that received the new right. Okay, so this is it. Let's see, for example, one of the things. So for example, here these are the rights that will be recorded. For example, if you give a user a permission to shut down the machine, so these are the rights that will be recorded. Okay, so for example, if I give a machine, if I give a user the permission to shut down the system, this will be recorded. If I remove it, it also will be recorded. For example, create a page file or change the system time, all of these are rights that will be recorded if it is given to a user or removed from a user. For example, add workstations to a domain, this is one of the rights actually. So these are all will be recorded. Okay, so these are all will be recorded. So if it is assigned or removed, an encrypted data recovery policy was changed, something relating to encryption of the data. Anyway, so these are very detailed description of what will be recorded. So let's continue. So we will record any changes in these rights. So let's continue working. Authorization, and then we will change to success. Okay, and then sensitive privilege use success. Let's see what is the description. Sensitive privilege related to the use of sensitive privilege such as acting as a part of the operating system or debug programs. So there is some permissions or some rights given to the user that are very sensitive and very critical. It will do a lot of not damage, it can do a lot of changes to the system. So the user, if he has the right of act as a part of the operating system, he can do a lot of things, or to debug programs he will do a lot of things. So we need to monitor this kind of rights if it is given to a user. Okay, for example, the previous recommendation, it will monitor all of the rights given to the user other than the login rights, but here he will monitor the rights to the user, especially the dangerous ones, something like act as a part of the operating system or debug programs. Here he need to monitor these rights in specific. So we need to monitor this kind of events because they are very, very critical. Okay, so let's continue and see successful ones actually. So these are all very useful audit options to monitor, okay, or audit options to activate. So here we will activate the successful change, okay, and then we need to continue. We need to go to sensitive privileges, success or failure. Success or failure. So if he one given this right, so for example, if I am an IT and I give a user the access or give the user the right to act as a part of the operating system, this will be recorded. If I have successfully done this. If I have failed, also this will be recorded. Maybe a hacker is trying to give himself the right to do something like acting as a part of the operating system and he failed. This should be recorded. So let's continue. And then IPsec driver success. These are related to if you have a VPN, okay, if you have VPN between servers and clients or between clients and clients. So this should be recorded. Okay, here you will record everything related to the IPsec. IPsec, it's not basically a protocol used in securing connections between servers or servers and servers, or workstations and workstations in a remote place. So for example, if you need to secure a connection between a PC in Egypt and a PC in for example United States, you can use a VPN and use the IPsec to do so. So here is monitoring the IPsec protocol. If any changes are done to this protocol, which is used basically to secure connections between PCs, okay, or servers. So here he will monitor these and record them. Okay, so such as for example dropped packets. So for example, if this protocol is not working properly, or it is malfunction, or there is some problems in it, it will be recorded. Okay, so something like dropped packets. Okay, so let's continue. We tell him success, I think, and failure maybe. So let's continue with these ones. Okay, IPsec and then success. And then failures, we will have two. Okay, success and failures of this kind of events. Okay, applying the OK. And then we need to audit other things, something related to the cryptographic key or cryptographic key operations and Windows Firewall service. So this is basically, it will monitor any change in the Windows Firewall service or the encryption process on your machine. Okay, so this is also one of the things to be monitored, any change in the firewall. Let's see this one. Also we will have some more details about it. Let's see, it's talking about audit system, other system events. So let's see here what is audit system. So system events. I have done this before in the securing Windows 10, but let me revise it with you all. So here, other system events, track failure of Windows Firewall service. Let's go and see more details about it. So here, this is the other system events dominated by firewall system service activity, which would seem to belong elsewhere. All subcategories. Okay, anyway, so one of the things, Windows Firewall service was started, it was stopped. For example, failed to start, so it was successfully stopped, successfully started, failed to start, a driver was stopped. Okay, some unable to notify the user that it's blocked an application from accepting incoming connections on the network. So it is related to the services of the firewall in general, but it's not related to the policies that you put on your firewall. Okay, so for example, you can make a policy to block a certain program. It will not record it. It will only record the service itself if the firewall is started, stopped, or failed to start. Okay, and for example, a driver has successfully started or not, or stopped anyway. And the encryption keys, or the key file operation, let's see what I was talking about, the key file operation here, or something related to the encryption process. So anyway, it will monitor the encryption process on your machine and the Windows firewall services. Okay, so let's continue. We need to monitor the successful events. Okay, here we make success. Okay, and then success and failure, both. So every process have two outcomes, failure or success. Okay, so we need to monitor both. So now we'll continue. Security, we need to audit security change success. What we mean by security state change events, something related to something like startup and shutdown of the system. Okay, let's see also what kind of events it will monitor. Security state here, events, it's something like startup of the system or shutdown of the system, but let's see also if there is more we can get from the website. So here, let's see security state events. Security state events. Okay, here we say that Windows is starting up, Windows is shutting down, the system time was changed. He's saying that changes such as system clock change and startup and shutdown of the system, these events are important because the Windows system is completely vulnerable while shut down, at the mercy of anyone who has physical access and the proper skill. Every event uses the system time, so a change system time could obscure or hide malicious actions or cause authentication problems. Okay, Kerberos depends on synchronization of time between other systems. Anyway, so these are the events that will be recorded when we activate the audit of security state change events, and these are the numbers or the event IDs. So here we have a lot of info about what is recorded. So we need success audit security state change. We have success. Okay, and then let's continue working. Here there's something called security system extensions success. Here you will record these kind of events related to extension code being loaded by a security subsystem. Let's see, this is not clear here what is he's talking about. Here is saying that the explanation, the Windows security infrastructure supports extensively through various types of plugins, and the security system extension subcategory logs all activity of such plugins. The Windows security infrastructure is designed to be modular and to facilitate new plugin security functionality from Microsoft and third-party vendors. These plugins can be authentication packages, trust login processes, or notification packages. Because of the plugins are completely trusted modules of code that augment the operating system, Windows logs each plug-in as it loads using these events in subcategory. For example, it's saying an authentication package has been loaded by the local security system. Let's see what is this event. A service was installed. Let's see here this one. So here he is monitoring if a service is installed on the system. He will record something like this. Let's see this kind of event. So for example here, let's see the description. A new service was installed by the user, indicating in the object. Subject often identifies the local system or services installed as a part of the native Windows components, and therefore you cannot determine who actually initiated the installation. Anyway, there is a key change control event, as new services are significant extensions of software running on a server and the roles it performs. The event is no longer generated on Windows Server 2012 R2 and earlier. Okay, so anyway, let's see also this event. Authentication package has been loaded. Okay, he's saying that this package is a DLL that encapsulates a given form of authentication as NTLM or Kerberos. Anyway, we don't need to go further, so we will only monitoring it, or we will monitor this kind of events, and this is the description of it. Anyway, so if you need to read more, you can read from this website. So let's continue and enable this kind of audit. So we will audit security system extensions. Let's wait for a moment and see how much time you have. So we have 30 minutes only. Okay, let's continue. Security system extensions, success. And this is the description of the policy from the group policy console. So we can continue working because we don't need all of this, and then we can go and continue something called system integrity success. We will audit something called system integrity success. These are events related to violation of integrity to the security subsystem. Let's see what he means by system integrity here. System integrity logs at least 3 events that can affect the overall integrity of the system. A cryptographic self-test was performed. Cryptographic operation. So here he will monitor the encryption process. Okay, these are the kind of events that will be recorded. Okay, so okay, so this is system security integrity, because actually the encryption is a process that will affect the system. So I think he will record it. Anyway, let's continue. System integrity, and then tell him success. He is saying also, you can see the description. Okay, cryptographic operations that compromise system integrity. Any encryption process that will affect the system integrity, it will be recorded. Detection of a remote procedure call that compromise system integrity. The detection of a hash value of an executable file that is not valid. Okay, anyway, we will continue. Apply and OK. And then this is our the system integrity success and failure. So we'll take both outcomes, success and failure, and then we need to continue. Here we must prevent display of slideshows on a lock screen. What we mean by slideshow? Slideshow is a couple of photos that will be run in something like an animation. That's what that we call a slideshow. You have a couple of photos that will run in sequence. For example, the first photo will come, and then the next photo will come, and then the third photo will come in a show. Okay, and this will be done automatically. We need to prevent slideshows on the lock screen. What we mean by lock screen? Lock screen, it is an image that will be displayed when you leave your machine idle for 15 minutes. So for example, if you leave the machine without working on it for 15 minutes, a lock screen will be displayed. Something like your mobile. If you leave your mobile not working, an image will be displayed and it will be locked. If you need to unlock your phone, you need to provide a password or provide a pattern. So these slideshows that are displayed on a lock screen could display sensitive information to unauthorized personnel. Turning off this feature will limit access to information to a logged in user. So we need not to enable slideshows on a lock screen. So the lock screen should be a fixed and and not animated image. Okay, so your lock screen should be an image that is still not animated. Okay, something like slideshow. Anyway, so we'll prevent using of slideshow on a lock screen. Okay, so we need to go to the control panel, personalization, and then prevent enabling of lock screen. So let's go and do this. Okay, local, not here, from the administrative templates. Then we will go to control panel, personalization, and then we need to prevent lock screen slideshow. Okay, so our lock screen should be an image, still image, not a slideshow lock screen. Okay, okay, so this is it. We need to enable it. Okay, and then let's continue with the other recommendations. We should disable something called W digest authentication. So we have said that to access a machine, the Windows or the domain controller should verify that you have a valid username and password. Okay, to do this process, or who is responsible for authentication of the user, it is the Kerberos protocol and NTLM protocols. There is an old protocols used for authentication. It's not secure anymore, so one of them is the W digest. So we need to disable it because it's not secure. I mean by not secure, it's not encrypting your connection to the domain controller during the process of verifying your username and password. Okay, it's your password is sent to the domain controller, not encrypted. Okay, he's saying that WGS protocol is enabled. Plain text passwords are stored in the local security subsystem service, exposing them to theft. WGS is disabled by default in Windows Server 2019. This setting ensures it is enforced. So we need to make sure that the authentication protocol used to authenticate the user to a domain or to a system should be the Kerberos protocol, because it is more secure. Passwords are sent encrypted. The connection to the domain controller is encrypted, or it is secure. So let's see, or let's make sure that the WGS authentication protocol is disabled, and he say it is disabled by default. So you just need to make sure it is already disabled. And here we have one of the templates of the Department of Defense. It will disable something called W digest authentication. It should be, if you need to enforce it, you can go to the template of the Department of Defense that we have installed earlier to activate this group policy template to disable W digest protocol. Okay, and here we can see that we can go to the registry of the domain controller and check if the W digest protocol is enabled. So you can check from the registry of the machine if the W digest protocol is enabled or not. If it is enabled, you need to disable it by a group policy or through tampering or changing the registry key. Okay, so here we need to see if we have a certain key in the registry. If this key is available, then that means that we are using W digest protocol. Okay, so if it's not there, then that means that we are not using it. Okay, and by default it is disabled, so we don't need to worry about it. So we are checking the location W digest. Here we can see that it is not there. Okay, so this key is saying that if this key does not exist or not configured as specified, this means it is a finding. Here he's saying that it is there. So if we don't have this key, then that means that you are using the W digest. So we need to disable it. We will go to the group policy to disable W digest. So let's see the location of this group policy. So let's go and see this. We need to go to the group policy and disable the W digest. So here we can see that the key is not available. User login credential, it's not there. So that means that we are using, or the W digest protocol is enabled, even though he's saying that it is disabled by default in Windows Server 2019, which I have already installed on the domain controller, Windows Server 2019 data core. Anyway, so let's continue. Here we need to disable. Here saying disabling may require a certain update to be installed. Anyway, so we will enable this policy to disable wdigest authentication protocol. Here we need to disable it. Okay, and then he is saying here that something called Internet Protocol IP version 6 source routing must be configured to highest protection level to prevent IP source routing. Okay, what he's saying here that when you are going to the internet, okay, let's wait I think for a moment, guys, because I think we can discuss this earlier. Okay, I will stop at this recommendation, or I think maybe I can continue. I will stop there and we will continue working discussing this recommendations in the other part of the video. We have stopped at the minute number 35:46. Hope this video informative you all, and thank you all for view. Thank you so much.